Welcome back. You're still watching News at Prime. So let's have this discussion now. The judicial inquiry into claims of political interference in the prosecution of a Truth and Reconciliation Commission cases is inviting all interested parties to attend a pre-hearing meeting. President Cyril Ramaphosa established the commission following concerns involving apartheid-era crimes. The commission's spokesperson, Mr. Lionel Adendorff, joins us now for more. Good afternoon to you. It is evening, isn't it? Good evening to you.
Nice being with you, Naledi, and nice talking to your viewers.
No, really good to have you with us. You've got quite the, as a commission and the entire team, having quite the mammoth task ahead of you, looking at cases that are so incredibly emotive for so many South Africans, wanting to see not just resolution to the cases, but also wanting to see why there were delays and obstructions to finding those resolutions. But let's start off with where we are right now. I know that we did chat about this later on in the week, but the pre-hearing sessions, what we're expecting that to look like.
Thank you so much. It's very nice being with you and to engage with your viewers on this very important matter. Just to get back to your other point, the commission or the TRC cases inquiry, as we would refer to it, is one is obviously loaded with some of the most senior and most experienced legal minds in this country. It's chaired by former Court Justice Sisi Gampepe. She's assisted by SC Gabriel, and then Andre Gabriel, and then she's also being assisted by the former or the retired Northern Cape Judge President Homo. And so we believe that that is the crux of our integrity and our strength. And we know that with them in charge, we will obviously be able to get this right. There are also two other things that people need to remember. One, yes, we are looking at the cases that were never investigated and never prosecuted. So that we need people to come forward and say, yes, my father was killed in 1970-something, and this was his case. It was referred to the NPA, and nothing happened to that case. But more importantly, Naledi, is that we also want whistleblowers to come forward and say, I worked at the NPA or at the SAPS at the time, and I got an instruction not to prosecute or not to investigate. And those, both of them, are very, very important. And because of the, as you have explained, the emotive nature of it on the one end, and also the fears that the other group might have, we want to bring their representatives or themselves together in one room to understand how is it that we would collect evidence, how is it, where is it that we need to look, what is it that we need to look out for. And we want to have that conversation with both of those groups and all interested organizations. We are, however, excited, given the fact that there are 2 days left. Tomorrow is the deadline at 4 o'clock. We are excited about the number of people and organizations and representatives that have shown interest in attending the pre-hearing engagement. Yeah. And so we know that this would bring the best result forward. But the other reason why we are doing it is because, as Justice Gampepe has insisted on all staff or the Secretariat, is one, she wants people and witnesses and families to be empowered. She wants witnesses and families to obviously have a sympathetic engagement with us, and the approach, and our approach should be sympathetic. And then she also wants the ethos of the hearing to be empowering and supporting. Yeah. And that is why we have decided on this.
I think that where some of these cases are concerned, we certainly know some of the more prominent families, and I'm not saying the families necessarily prevalent, but you know, the prevalent groupings of families that we're aware of, for instance, the Cradock 4 and some of the efforts that their families have taken. But as you talk about others that have come forward and shown interest to participate in these pre-hearing sessions, I'm keen to hear who some of those, the organizations that have stepped forward. Please let us know who else is stepping in.
Look, at this stage, I can confirm that we have received some representations or registrations from government institutions. I can confirm that it is indeed some of those that you have mentioned that will play a critical role in our investigation. We are also excited about people who have been very, very patient and who have been yearning for justice for more than 25 years, and now they believe that this is the opportunity. And so we have families other than those that have we know that are in circulation, and we have also received a notice from academics, people who with information, or people, as you would have seen since the announcement, people who have been with the TRC, who have a direct interest in the integrity of that process and who want to see those cases concluded. You must also remember that more than 300, that's the number that's being touted around, cases have been referred. And when I saw recently a statement by the NPA, it was a minuscule number that have been prosecuted. And yes, why is it that there has been this delay? And that's what we hope to find.
Yeah, I do want to bring our viewers into a discussion that you and I just started off air a little bit earlier, just about, I mean, if you look at the few months that are coming ahead of us in this country, goodness, so much talking and dialogue that will be watching, if you look at the various inquiries. So this inquiry into what happened with the TRC cases, and then of course we're going to be looking at the Mabandla inquiry, which is going to be looking at you know, allegations of graft in police and so forth. At the end of all of this, the sort of recommendations that come, where they go, and if we have the capacity then, as the National Prosecuting Authority, for instance, to take some of these issues forward, which is going to be, one could imagine, quite a lot.
This is essentially about our institutional democracy, or our institutions of democracy. We have very strong institutions. Our judiciary, for instance, is internationally lauded as very strong. And yes, there are some problems, like in our case, for instance. Why is it that the NPA or the SAPS has not investigated or has not prosecuted certain cases? And yes, while they are doing very well on other cases, there's this particular case that we are looking at to understand why. And to get to the answers, we obviously need the South African population to join us on this road. And it's very, very important that they need to understand their important role in this and what they can do to strengthen our work and our recommendations. Because while no pen has been put to paper, while we have not even interviewed our first witness, while we have not even agreed on a roadmap yet, it is important that we need to prepare our nation for it and to make sure that they understand what is coming. And that's why, on behalf of Justice Gampepe, I can extend our gratitude to you and your colleagues in the media for allowing us this opportunity to engage with your viewers and listeners in the way that we are.
I think that South Africans certainly are invested, and so it is an important discussion. Just talk to me, I think, just for clarity, and this is also just for the sake of the viewer, you've got this inquiry taking place, the pre-hearing that is going to be kicking off. Much interest in that, I can just imagine.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, we did have another process that was playing out in the courts where families of apartheid-era crimes had taken the issue to the courts looking for damage. We did see, for instance, former president and ex-justice minister wanting to intervene in that matter. Yeah. And that's now on pause. So explain how that now relates to this process that we see taking place with the inquiry.
Now, Lady, the TRC cases inquiry has a specific set of terms of reference. And we do not want to engage in matters beyond that. What is currently happening in the courts might have an influence on what we do later on, but we do not want to anticipate it. We do not even want to overestimate or underestimate the influence that it might have on our work. And that is why we do not have a comment on anything else that is happening outside of the inquiry, but we will obviously, once we put pen to paper and draft the report and its recommendations, we will obviously at that stage know the impact that it had or how it would have interfered with our work or delayed it or accelerated it. But I think that we want to comment on that once we have seen all the evidence and heard some testimony on it.
Yeah, look, I talk about the public interest in TRC cases, and I wonder just how visible this process is going to be, so just how much access we're all going to have.
Yeah.
I mean, we're running visuals of the original Truth and Reconciliation Commission a little bit there on the screen, and you go back to those moments, they were incredibly important moments for our country, and I think about just what the next few months is going to mean for, at a time when we're even talking about a national dialogue to have a social compact, right?
Yeah.
incredibly important that South Africans have access to this process.
Yes, and that is why, one, we have promised our commissioners that in part of us being sympathetic is making sure that all our witnesses will have, or those who want to come, the families especially, who want to come and give evidence, will have psychosocial support. We will be able to provide that. We are currently looking at and talking to our partners in other institutions on how will we protect whistleblowers, for instance, who want to come forward and want to come and provide evidence. But as I said earlier, the crux and the credibility of our processes lies heavily in the reputation of our commissioners, who have had, I mean, Justice Gampepe has a record of completing her investigations on time and on budget, and also then with a kind of empathy and sympathy that it requires. Yeah. And we will rely on that yet again.
All right, so the clock is ticking. Tomorrow is the 25th of August, and that is actually when your deadline is for people to submit.
But I also want to just make this note, that the pre-hearing inquiry or the pre-hearing engagement will not be open to the public or to the media, because, as I said, we're sitting there with whistleblowers who we have not discussed whether they will be granted anonymity or confidentiality. We have not had any engagement with them. So we do not want to expose them. We do want to protect everyone who is part of it and who have the information that we need. And we also want to protect the integrity of the commission and its work. And that is why we want to work rather with our witnesses instead of exposing them in an irresponsible manner. But we will obviously communicate regularly the decisions of our work.
Yeah. It's a tough balancing act of having these inquiries, right, is that you also need to be able to protect the safety of people so people feel safe enough to come forward and bring information. So for interested persons or institutions that are keen to register their interest, perhaps some details as the clock is ticking, and tomorrow 4 o'clock the gates come down.
Yeah, no, thank you so much again for that reminder. We have 2 days left. Tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock, we will obviously no longer receive any invitations. So those who do want to come forward and assist us in our work, please, by all means, it's pre-hearing at trc-inquiry.org.za. That is the email address where you can register it. And as I said, whether you have information that can help us, whether you are a family member or representative of families, or whether you are a whistleblower and have particular information, a former NPA employee perhaps, we are looking forward to engaging with you.
Yeah, a mammoth task ahead of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your time. We really do appreciate it. The Commission spokesperson there, Mr. Lionel Adendorff. We take a short break. When we come back, though, we bring you more of your top stories. Stay with us.